This video is going to be about flipping that on its head, about getting AI to do real work on your tour business while you sleep, maybe while you're out leading a tour. Hey there, Kelsey Toner here, the founder of Guest Focused Tour Business Coaching, where every day myself and our incredible team of tour and activity business coaches are helping you build a thriving, profitable business. Welcome back to our series on making AI work for you. If you're paying for some sort of AI subscription right now, while you're watching this, there's AI capacity that you're paying for that's just sitting there, idle, waiting, resetting to zero at the end of the month, whether or not you use it. This video is going to be about flipping that on its head, about getting AI to do real work on your tour business while you sleep, maybe while you're out leading a tour. This is not science fiction. This is something that you can set up this week. Stick around. In many ways, it is the big payoff or the next step for having a fully functioning AI brain, where a lot of the knowledge that maybe before this process has been stored in your email, in documents, in drives, in your head across CRMs or booking softwares, and having it all put in one location, connected up with the AI brain, having the context, deep knowledge about the business, how it works, who's on your team, the tools you use, and connectors, or that nervous system that will go out and actually be able to use all of those different softwares that you use on a daily basis. Part of why we did that was to allow this type of autonomous and scheduled action. Put another way, here's the frame that changed how I think about this. Most operators treat AI like a tool. You open it when you need it, you ask a question, or you try and accomplish a task to get it right. We close the tab, and that's a great place to start. And if that's the level that you're at, then fantastic. But I want you to appreciate that there is a lot more potential there. This kind of use the analogy sometimes of ping-pong, right? And we go back and forth, where it's like bing, 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 and we're giving it context, we're giving it chat, we're maybe giving it feedback. And yes, we can get to an incredible result. But notice that you're always sitting there. We are always hitting the ball back. And when we stop hitting the ball, or when we stop prompting, or we stop asking, action stops as well. So here's another idea I want you to play around with. I want you to think of that AI intelligence, that capacity that you're paying for, more like fuel. Like you're paying for a tank of compute every month. And every time you use it, you're drawing from the tank. And at the end of your billing cycle, whatever you didn't use resets to zero, right? Or the tank is emptied out, we lose that forever. Empty. A lot of the folks that I talk to are probably only using a tiny fraction of the fuel, of the compute that we have at our disposal. And that other 90% plus gets lost or reset every single month. You paid for it. Let's talk about how you can use it. Before we do, a quick note on billing, because it does matter here. So Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google, they all bill a little bit differently. And obviously this is a moving target. Week to week or month to month, they're evolving how this works. Most people are using a monthly subscription of some type, though. Those plans are what is subsidized right now by those larger models, which means you're getting access to some serious amount of compute, some serious amount of AI for a fraction of what it actually costs to run. My take is, hey, let's use it. I want you to recognize just how much gas you are being given for a very affordable rate every single month. There's actually two layers of subsidization that is happening. So one is at the macro level, right? All the money that's coming from investors, all the investments that companies like Amazon and Meta and Google and others are putting into the actual data centers, the electricity, the build outs, the investment and training, all that sort of thing. But the second way that those AI plans that go on a monthly cycle are being subsidized is that if you build out tools, and if you're watching this, you're probably starting to toe your way into some of these more advanced applications. When you start tying in via an API connection, you have that same token billing mechanisms that we actually went into a little more detail in another video. But that token, the rate that you go through tokens through an API connection into Claude Opus or into Gemini is actually a lot more expensive than the amount of tokens that you pay for in these monthly plans. And for those of you that are in the middle of the process of building out that AI brain using our AI Brain Builder prompt, then we'll also want to be thoughtful about when we are building, when we push the hardest. When we're building out that AI brain, it's going to actually use a lot of compute. So We want to do our heaviest work during off-peak hours because that sometimes impacts our billing rate, especially with Claude Cowork. Take breaks. Recognize that each of these models has a reset session. So after 5 hours inside of Claude Cowork or Claude Code, you're going to have a reset and you'll have all of that usage available again. But if you're at this point in the series, we are now moving into a different phase, right? We now want to start unleashing some of that compute that you are paying for. The real opportunity is when we stop playing ping pong and we start training our AI to handle things without us. Of course, I'm not saying that we're going to remove the human from the loop. That's an important process. But what you're going to see as we get further and further into this is the workflows that you build will have more and more human in the loop, more and more supervision in the early stages. But eventually, you're going to be granting permission for these AI models to take more and more autonomous action. Once you've nailed that process, once we've been really, really clear about the type of output that we want, we've given it feedback, we've iterated, then that level of trust increases. You can kind of think about this as like an autonomy slider as well. The best analogy that works really well is, I think, training a new team member, which so many of us have done, right? When somebody new joins your tour business, right? We don't hand them the keys on day one. We, of course, work with them. We provide training. We observe them. We give them small tasks. We see how they handle it. And over time, we trust them with more and more. We trust them to be able to execute things independently, whether that's leading a tour all by themselves, or answering the phone, or handling upset clients all by themselves. And some people you eventually trust with almost everything, right? Others we keep closer to the bench. Others have a very specific role and they have very limited access. Well, your AI is very similar. And so we recommend 3 steps as you start getting into the world of automation and workflows. These are a better place to start, I would say, than autonomous agents or setting up a full AI employee. In step 1, we do it together. We are still in ping pong mode here, right? You prompt, we're using the most powerful models to give it context, to how to really understand what you're trying to accomplish. Now, using AI to help you use AI is crucial in this step. This is still where that workflow or that process is being shaped. This is not a time where we want to skip it. Every task that eventually runs on its own, no matter how complex the workflow, no matter how often it runs, it all starts with this first step. Step 2 is we move into that evaluation step, right? We build it out and then we trigger it or we test it. The AI has now run this task with you enough times, and hopefully you provide enough instructions that it knows the shape of the output. Now we're going to package it up so that it runs the same way every time you ask, right? Whether that's your daily inbox triage, a tour recap, or something that gets sent to every single guest. Depending on the workflow or task, the trigger can be something that happens automatically, or it can be a time-bound trigger that fires when you want it to. As you can imagine, in this step, there's a good chance that we're gonna get some subpar outputs. There's a good chance something might break. There's a good chance that you're gonna have to give it additional feedback. Keep that training the employee metaphor in mind. That's entirely normal, that a new employee just may not have a certain piece of context. And before long, we then get to step 3. This is when your AI is running the task, the workflow, on its own. There's no button, there's no voice note, there's no prompting, there's no ping pong. It might be a trigger that fires, it might be a schedule that happens on a routine basis, and the AI does the work, and the results are waiting for you or your team when you open up your computer. For those of you who have been playing with the large language models, and especially something like Claude Cowork, you'll start to see and recognize that a lot of these companies have built in permission steps. So when we add a new connector, let's say to our email or to our calendar, we might want to adjust the slider depending on our degree of comfort or depending on what step we are in. When we are in steps 1 and 2 and we're designing a new workflow, this is where we may want to have those permissions being more conservative. Meaning, hey, I don't want you to go in and be able to write and send emails at this stage. But maybe I'm going to give you permission to go in and just read my emails, right? Imagine here like a daily triage. It's going to help you manage that inbox. It's going to prioritize. Maybe it's going to be able to forward email ultimately to the right team member. And you want to have a process that does this automatically eventually. So in those early stages, we may not give it that ability to actually forward that email just yet. We might have it say, hey, ask permission. So keep that employee analogy in mind. And you'll be able to adjust those permissions based on the tool that you're using. Now, quite transparently, in Claude Cowork, I move quite quickly from giving the AI permission to take action, and I've still found that it is pretty conservative, right? I can still, just with my words, I can describe where I want a human in the loop. So you can do this with words, but I also want to highlight that we do have some of that functionality built right into the tools, and that's there as a safety mechanism as well. So our recommendation was to use Claude Cowork, and part of the reason was with our AI Brain Builder prompt that we gave you, we have its specific instructions on adding skills. And as a reminder, skills are essentially where we try and capture the specific process, the very specific outcome that we're looking to achieve with some type of workflow that happens more than once. Now, your AI Brain Builder came with a skill building prompt built into it. That skill can then live inside of your AI brain. What's pretty powerful about those skills, just as a reminder and to be totally clear about it, is they're very often just a markdown file, right? It is just text that maybe points to particular context. And that's what's powerful about skills, is that they're quite mobile. You can move those instructions, those reference files, those skills between different large language models. Now, as we said with Claude Cowork, you want your AI brain to be adding these skills in one place. And that's why it's really valuable. That's where the payoff of using something like Claude Cowork is, that it's going to be able to update, improve, and add these skills on its own. You'll find that your AI brain, as you're using Claude Cowork, might come back to you and say, hey, do you want me to turn this into a skill? Hey, it seems like this is something that happens over and over. How about we engage this process? Now, one nuance here is Claude Cowork and Claude Code ultimately run from your computer. So your computer needs to be open. Claude Cowork needs to be up and running. And that's a little bit different from some of the ways that we use online ChatGPT or even Claude Online or Gemini. This takes some getting used to, and especially if you've got a laptop or you're on the go, we might ultimately be changing some of that behavior. So let's set some expectations up. Like we say we built this AI brain. I just want to be honest about the first workflows and automations or AI agents that you're going to be setting up. I know I'm going to expect that the first time we're trying to have some of those independent workflows, things probably aren't going to go just how I want them to, right? Bring that same patience and empathy that you have for a new employee to a new agent or a new automated workflow that you're setting it up. I remember watching somebody at the time of recording anyway, I was absolutely blown away by essentially somebody who was showing, hey, here's my raw video files, and I've now built an AI tool that is doing all the video editing for you. It would go through, it would remove the ums and ahs, it would automatically clip and put these things together. And then on top of that, there was another skill for going in and putting graphics and animations. This was absolutely just mind-blowing. But what I appreciated about his video is he showed the 2 or 3 iterations, the time that it ran first. And the key here was not that the first time it ran and it created a crappy animation or it did something that wasn't quite right, is that he recognized that, yeah, I had to iterate, I had to give it feedback. But the payoff of him doing that was now he has an AI assistant or an AI tool that is taking something that was maybe a huge amount of work for him, and he was able to automate it. That's the powerful compounding part of building out an AI brain. Every correction will have the next run better. The context that might be missing can get added. The skill that took 4 rounds or 5 rounds of feedback to get right will keep working for the next 100 rounds. That's the leverage that we're paying for. What I noticed working in Cowork is I was doing some of this exact work that we were talking about, and I saw that my session usage was running out. And right away I was like, okay, well, I guess I can come back in a couple hours and reset, and just everything just goes on pause until then. But I asked it, hey, can you schedule to finish this task? We're gonna go on a quick break. I want you to pause, and I want you to pick things back up in 2 hours when we've got more credit. I'm gonna be in bed, probably reading with my kids, but I want you to take it from there. And sure enough, Claude Cowork was able to schedule the completion of that project later on into the evening. That was pretty eye-opening for me. And it really allowed me to start thinking about, wow, I could be getting a lot of things done over night. It might also be worth being a bit honest about some of the discomfort that you might feel, right? The first few times that you let an AI agent run something without you, it can feel strange, right? You'll have that natural urge to want to double check it, especially as the stakes get higher, especially as we start maybe allowing it to create copy, do outreach, maybe do follow-up, start interfacing with clients or partners. And if you're feeling that, that's actually fantastic, right? That's a good instinct. That's not a weakness. That's prudent delegation. It's exactly what you would do with a new human hire, right? The other thing that happens when I'm building out these automations and tools and systems is I'll often say, hey, I don't know how to fix this, but I don't want this to happen again, right? You don't have to actually come up with the solution itself. You just, maybe a thought will pop in your mind that, hey, what if this happens? Maybe we haven't covered that. What would you do in this case? And you can talk it through. Maybe you add some new context. But what's fantastic about these skills, what's fantastic about the AI agents and an AI brain is that we can build those things in. Maybe that comes up, or maybe you think about it, or we really take the time to reason through that process. We can now start building in those safeguards. So as you spend more time inside of Cowork and likely more tools into the future, you're going to see that, hey, you can go in and manually create scheduled tasks that happen on some type of a schedule, right? But keep in mind, you can often do this just with natural language, and especially Claude Cowork is great at setting those up for you, whether those are triggers if something happens, or ultimately a schedule. You can just, again, describe that outcome. And if you prompt it correctly, your AI brain and something like Claude Cowork should be able to set that up for you. Last thing that I want to mention is this notion of dispatch. Now, this was a new tool that Claude Cowork built in, and the notion was that from your phone, the Claude app on your phone, you can interface with Claude Cowork or Claude Code. But we're just focusing on Claude Cowork. Dispatch allows you to interface and access Claude Cowork specifically, meaning specifically access your full AI brain, right? It's going to be able to, if you allow it and if you set up the right processes, do things inside of your browser. It's going to be able to create and manipulate files for you. It's going to be able to use your computer to do all kinds of different tasks. So what this means is when you are on the go, or maybe you're out on tour, or maybe you're just going for a walk, you're going to be able to interact with your AI brain and take actions. Now, of course, for dispatch to work, we've got to make sure that that computer is on and that Claude Cowork is open. Okay, so let's take some action. I want you to pick one workflow this week. Just one. Make it low risk, low consequence. Maybe a morning summary, a news scan, maybe competitor research, a weekly number that you work up anyway, or something that happens over and over in your business that's on your plate right now. Let's schedule it. Let's run it for one full week. Let's check the output. Let's go through those 3 steps and decide if you ultimately trust it for the next week. Now, for those of you that don't have your AI brain set up yet, you might be wondering, well, hey, can I still build these types of AI automations? Can I still have these agents do things for me? And the answer is yes. Now, there are some downsides. You may have heard of platforms or tools like make.com or N8N. Those are all ways that you can create these automations. But keep in mind, the downside here is that you're going to have to provide a lot of context. The reason that we have that AI brain and all of the context and all of the connectors, and why we recommend Claude Cowork, is that you don't have to go through that step over and over and over again. It also allows you to preserve that skill, that automation, all in one place. Right? So hopefully that gives you some perspective. It's not required, but there are some serious advantages, which is why we recommend it. Remember, everything is figure-outable. Use AI to figure out how to use AI all the way through this process. And look, if you want a human in the loop, if you want to have a conversation, I'd love to talk to you. Go over to guestfocus.com/book a call, and you get a free strategy call with myself, one of our coaches, and we'd be happy to help you with this next big step of having AI do work for you while you're out living life, while you're out enjoying yourself, and making sure that we're efficiently using the compute that we're paying for. Thank you so much for being here. In the comments down below, I'd love to hear what task you're most excited about getting off your plate. Dream scenario, think big. If you also want to share some of what you've built, that would be great inspiration for others here in the community. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next video.